Hi guys, who is the dumbest politician ever? Well, if you were thinking somebody from the DUP, you'd be wrong. It happens to be the serial failure Ben Habib. He has run a number of times for a seat and lost. He hasn't been elected since the Brexit party in the European Parliament, which adds an extra dynamic to this story. Ben, for some reason, has been given a platform to engage in his projection, and he claimed that the UK never really got Brexit. Crazy stuff, have a listen.
We didn't get Brexit.
No.
We left Northern Ireland behind, and we're still hitched at the hip in many, many significant areas of government policy.
Okay, before we continue, Northern Ireland is not part of the EU. Northern Ireland is part of the single market when it comes to goods. Now, that's a direct result of the Withdrawal Agreement. And what's interesting about the Withdrawal Agreement is that it was voted on in the UK Parliament and the European Parliament. Now, Ben Habib was a member of the European Parliament when the Withdrawal Agreement was voted on. So you would imagine that he voted against it. No, he voted for it. So he voted for Northern Ireland to remain part of the single market and the customs union when it comes to goods. And now he's complaining about that fact. Has he come out and apologised? Said, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that? No. He's ignored that fact, or he's tapped danced around that fact, or he tries to come up with some stupid excuse. But he voted for that. He goes to Northern Ireland and complains about the protocol, complains about the fact that Northern Ireland is part of the single market and when it comes to goods. But he never truly admits why he voted for it.
State aid, competition, employment, and of course the environment, which we've just been talking about, net zero. And we gave away, I think of the 1,750 odd licenses for fishing in the Channel, over 40% have gone to the European Union. They take a massive amount of fish out of our water already.
Okay, there are two things to say here. First of all, I know that Ben Habib is no longer a member, or I don't know if he's still a member, but he's no longer a senior member of Reform UK. He had a bit of a difference of opinion with Nigel Farage. But Reform UK recently avoided going to, I believe it was a committee, a parliamentary committee, about fishing. And Reform UK keep complaining about how the fishermen have been sold a raw deal when it comes to Brexit. But there was a fishing committee to deal with that, or to talk about that at least, and they didn't turn up. This is the problem with Brexiteers like Nigel Farage and Ben Habib. They say one thing, they do another, and then when they're called out, well, can you truly help out an industry that's struggling because of Brexit? They don't turn up. Now, when it comes to fishing, we know already that most of the fish caught in British waters are not consumed by British consumers. They prefer fish from further afield. And that's why it was so important in the past, and still important to a certain extent, that fish coming in the process is streamlined. Because most of the fish consumed in Britain is caught elsewhere.
And what Starmer said before he became Prime Minister, you might recall this, he was in Montreal, he thought he was off camera, and he said, if I were to become Prime Minister, I would align us so closely with the EU that people wouldn't even be able to tell whether or not we were members.
Yes.
And that
isn't that a great thing? Isn't that a wonderful thing? Not to Ben Habib, it seems, but can you imagine to businesses, to ordinary people? We would be so aligned with the European Union, you wouldn't know that we were in or out. I still think it'd be better for the UK to be in the European Union, to be at the decision-making table, to be a rule maker, not a rule taker. But for Ben Habib, this is the problem.
That's where he's going. He set out now a body of people to effectively deliver that result. And I call him the anti-British Prime Minister because he's a Prime Minister who would willingly give over governance of this country to Brussels.
See, what's also funny about people like Ben Habib is he keeps banging on about how Keir Starmer is anti-British. Now, we can debate that, but the worst person to be presenting this argument is Ben Habib. Ben Habib voted for the Withdrawal Agreement and now complains about the Withdrawal Agreement. He wants Britain actually to rip up international law. He wants more restrictions on trade. He wants more bureaucracy. He wants fewer freedoms for British people. So who, according to this logic, is more anti-British. Keir Starmer, who wants to bring down some of these barriers to trade, who wants to allow young people more freedom to travel around Europe, or Ben Habib, who wants more restrictions, more bureaucracy, and more costs to business.
Willingly take down our borders and also willingly give up sterling, give up monetary policy. What kind of prime minister would do those three things to their own country and against the will of the people, as we know? Keir Starmer is fundamentally anti-British, and that's why he follows the agenda he's following.
Ben, I believe, was born in Pakistan, so he's an immigrant. Now, wouldn't you think that as an immigrant, he would have more respect for the United Kingdom than trying to run it down constantly, suggesting that somebody who was born in Britain is anti-British? Of course, he can go and say these types of things on, the Concrete Farmers show because he's speaking to, somebody who completely agrees with him. But I think there's something dangerous, and it's beyond politics, when you describe the Prime Minister as anti-British. Especially when he's trying to, you can talk about anti-British if you want, or cold-hearted if you want to talk about certain policies, such as the winter fuel allowance or the two-child benefit cap. If you want to talk about those things, yes, we can come to some sort of agreement there. But when you're talking about a Prime Minister who's trying to bring down barriers to trade, he's trying to provide young people with better opportunities, that's not anti-British, that's pro-British. And if you're standing in opposition to that, then you're the one who's probably anti-British. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.